talking about gender roles and how men who don't really do anything when they get home from work die when they stop working because they are totally inactive at that point.
Yep.
And you were touching on that in your actual article there that, hey, there's a whole lot that goes behind this. You know, you've got the old-fashioned, I shouldn't just say old-fashioned because we have an international audience and there can be people where it's very cultural for all the work in the home to be done by the woman, you know, to follow those gender norms of different cultures. And it's different from place to place, but in many parts of the world, we've got a setup where if you've got that, and you were saying in your article, women's roles both in the workplace and in the home, that, if they're working a lot of hours at work and there's nothing but work when they get home, it's not the healthiest environment. They don't have time to take care of themselves, to eat well, to get good exercise and pay attention to their fitness. So it's multifactorial, and that's why you chose it. So you could say all that, not because it was a good article.
No, not because it was a
not
good
because
article.
of good
And that wasn't the point I was making. Yeah. And obviously we picked up on that. And we can talk a little bit about what makes a good article. What should we believe? How can we believe it? Where should we start? How about power? Can we talk about the power of a study?
What's power mean, Dr. Gawain?
So power is how useful a study is, or how much you can rely on it being true, I guess you would say.
Okay.
Is that a good way to put it?
And what's it come from?
And it mostly comes from how many people are enrolled in the study. Mostly. The more people you have in a study, the more information you're going to get. Therefore, you can have more statistical significance in your results.
Yes.
So sorry, a little bit of statistics this time for you guys.
Big numbers, big power. So when I think of a study with big numbers, I wish I could come up with a name, but I'm thinking of one in particular that was lifestyle changing for me is when people went along with stuff. So, some good and some bad. Framingham study was good.
It was a good one, yes.
Yeah.
So power study, very important. And then I guess I mentioned earlier the statistical significance. Usually we use this p-value, and I used to know how to calculate a p-value back when I was taking statistics, but I couldn't tell you now.
I can give a general.
But I can tell you what it means.
Yeah.
A p-value is essentially the confidence you can have that a study is right and true and actually giving you good results. So a p-value, typically what we accept is 0.05 or less. And what that means is that you have a 95% or greater chance that this study is correct, that is actually telling you what is true.
It's based on what's the likelihood to get this result, you know, the difference between two groups, by chance.
Yep.
And so they go with this p-value of, like you said, 5% or less than 5%.
Less than 5%, yeah.
Which means 95% or better chance that it didn't occur.
That is not.
Just randomly.
Just randomly.
You know, you roll a dice and, you know, you're going to get such and such a value 5% of the time.
Right.
Well.
Now, my friend, I was taking statistics in college with a friend of mine. He brought up to me the idea that, okay, if we use a p less than 0.05 value, or that 5% interval, that would mean that 5% of every study done out there is wrong.
No. It would be true for the ones that had a p-value of 0.05.
Exactly, yeah. So there are some that have a much lower p-value. Some of them with a greater power can get down to 0.001. I've seen them that low, which means you have a 99.9%,
but we live in a world of uncertainty. Yeah. We do not have a study with a p-value of 0. We go with the best we can, and we have people repeat the studies. And so you get a couple of studies showing the same thing that are well designed, and both have a very low p-value. The chances of this result occurring just by chance are very, very small.
Right. So what about types of studies? I'll talk a little bit about that.
Certainly a study that you just go and observe, an observational study, and write down numbers based on what you see right in front of you. It's not as strong as a study where you say, let's not just go by what we see in front of us. Let's actually, from the beginning, make an intervention and follow the people we make an intervention with and those that we don't over time, and then see what the difference is.
And let's make sure that those people don't know about the intervention that we made.
Well, they know an intervention is made because they
But you
enrolled in
don't
a
know
study.
if they, but they don't know if they were getting, like, what I'm getting to is the idea of being double-blinded. The reason it's called double-blinded is when you give somebody a pill, let's just say, placebo or something that actually has your medical intervention. Double-blinded means the person taking the pill and the person giving the pill don't know if it's placebo or
real thing.
the actual intervention.
How can you possibly do a study where the person giving the study instrument, whether it be a pill or a placebo, doesn't know?
Well, you just have a separate person do it.
That's right. You have another, well, but the person giving it to them knows.
Right.
So you set something up with randomized numbers.
Right.
You have somebody who doesn't talk to anybody do all the numbers for, okay, all the pills that are the real thing, here's their numbers. All the pills that are placebo are here. And then you randomly assign, just take the numbers and put them in a bag and pick one. There's no way the person giving it knows if they're giving the real thing or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there are ways to do it.
Right.
And then hard endpoints are something that go along with a
Sure.
really good study. What's a hard endpoint?
Hard endpoint is when you would stop the study. How would you describe that? Basically, once we reach this point, percentage of people who
How about die
die,
of any cause?
percentage of people who
All-cause mortality is a
have,
hard endpoint.
That's definitely a hard endpoint for sure. Yeah. So
Yes.
and they can set that at a certain point, or percentage of people who get better. Some have that. Some actually finish early. One study I can think of is the recent shingles vaccine. They stopped that one early because they hit their hard endpoint early.
Okay.
So
So
an example.
there are things that make for a good study and a clear question.
Yes.
Very
very
clear,
important.
as basic as you can make it question.
Yep.
That you can test and see the difference. You go, yep, this is good or this is not good. And again, I go back to that. I can't go back to the meat study because it wasn't prospective. It didn't say, okay,
right. Yeah,
you people will be meat eaters and you people won't be. That would have been a good study,
That would have been better.
but that's not been done,
Yes.
at least not on a big scale.
Yeah. I don't think there would be a way to do that double-blinded because fake meat really doesn't taste like meat.
Yes. See, and so now you're starting to see we're coming up with the realities of, well, this will be a problem if you do a study, or this will be a problem, and that's true. Studies usually aren't perfect, and usually can be picked apart, and usually do have critics.
Oh yeah.
Who, whatever study you hear in the news that says that, well, we hear the way they report on the news, it proves something.
Yep.
How many times do we say a study actually proved anything?
Yeah.
So there's those of us, and certainly I wouldn't even count myself among those who are really well trained to criticize study design.
No, me
I've been
neither.
through the training.
Yeah, we get taught
It didn't
this in
stick
medical
that
school, but
Well, for me, it was very much in residency where
you got it there
where I
too.
got it. Our
Yeah.
journal club was, just ruthless, and
Right.
those people I was in there with, they really understood study design. It was a very research strong program.
Oh.
And I wasn't interested in research. I was interested in practicing medicine.
right. And I think that's probably why we have lost that in our years in clinical practice, because we rely on other people to tell us the importance of a study.
People we trust.
Yeah, credentialed people who we
Yes.
trust, and then put that into practice, and because our time is mostly spent with patients, giving care. So
Rather than reading the study that the other
studies
are
after
based
studies,
on,
and some of them are really long. That's
Yeah.
a lot of reading,
Yeah, a lot of very.
and it's
If you ever get a chance to read a medical journal article,
it's intense.
enjoy. Do we have any interesting comments there?
Let's see here. Somebody says that's interesting. Didn't know that about the p-value. You're welcome, Pamela. Lula Libre. I don't know what that means, Peter. Sorry. Hello from South Carolina says
South Carolina.
PDH 29073.
Good.
Yeah.
So we're glad to talk about that.
Yeah.
I would like to show people what's going on right now.
Oh, sure.
Because we've got some pictures here.
Local pictures.
Let's
yes.
see what this looks like. If we were to just put this right up and say,
That's probably from the Ferguson fire, right?
Now, where's Ferguson fire located?
So there's a fire in South Yosemite.
Oh, okay.
That's just coming right up the valley.
So we would get that.
Yeah.
And then before we finish today, I wanted to show everybody something else.
Oh,
and
all
that
right.
is the Madison Woman is available on Prime Video.
Oh, look at that.
You can
Check
see
it out.
So if you have not seen Madison Woman yet, you're waiting because it was 2 parts when it was released on.
Or because you don't have a Vimeo account like me.
Well, now,
I do have an Amazon account, like everybody in the world.
on the Vimeo, on the Prime Video or the Amazon, we actually somehow, in addition to having part 1 and part 2, we've got a part 1 and 2, so people can get it for half the cost.
Hey, all right.
So keep an eye out for that if you're on Amazon, and look at how you spell Madison there so you get it spelled correctly.
Yes, I must tell you, I was looking that up, and I even spelled it correctly, and the first one that came up was...
I know, it keeps doing that.
Yeah, Medicine Woman. What's her name? Medicine Woman.
Yeah, what was her name? I don't know. She was a Bond girl, a James Bond movie.
Dr. something.
Dr. Quinn.
Dr. Quinn, yeah.
Not to detract from her.
No, go to Madison Woman.
Oh, speaking of television shows, our friend Dr. Sandra Lee, or Dr. Pimple Popper, has her own show on TLC. So if you enjoy that, and many of the people who have watched our videos over the years do enjoy watching the pimple popping or the blackhead videos or the cysts or whatever it is she's working on, she has been doing some pretty big cysts on television on TLC. So check that out if you're I don't know, how do you get TLC? I guess you have cable or satellite or something.
Yeah, there's some
I'm not familiar
services.
with that world, so.
Yep.
But I'm happy for her having a show.
On-demand stuff, maybe.
And then before we go, you want to promote your...
Yeah, Dr. Green Night, check it out. You'll have the inside scoop on mostly what we talk about on these Mondays. We usually talk about
That's
what's
the
going
most
on.
common thing that we hit on is...
Yeah, and it's just good advice. Well, maybe I'm a little jaded.
It is good. And it's oriented to the non-medical professional.
Yeah. And I put stuff out there that I believe in, that is good evidence-based medicine. So you'll see that in my post. I don't make any recommendations based off of this study, but they are recommendations that, in my opinion, I feel are good for your health and evidence-based, having a good work-life balance.
So are there any things that we need to admit to here? What do they call it? Declarations before you go to a medical conference?
Oh, if we have any financial interests?
Yes.
Disclosures.
So what are our final interests here? What are we selling? Well, there's no vitamins or
there are
or supplements
nothing
or
like that. We're not selling anything. No.
Madison Woman.
He's selling Madison Woman.
I'm selling Madison Woman.
I've got some Google ads on my website.
So there's our
that's my disclosure.
Disclosure. That's where I was looking for. That's our disclosure. So now you know. Not too exciting. So and I like to put that out because of the good information on your blog. It isn't commercially biased.
No, I'm not getting paid by anyone to write articles.
Wouldn't hurt to have a little.
It would be nice to be actually making money from it.
You would tell us, though, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
So if that happened, you'd be up front and say, I'm being paid by Walmart to tell you to go to go there to
tell you to.
I say that because I'm actually trying to find somebody there to talk to. But
don't wear underwear as a shirt. That's what I'm getting paid for. Peopleofwalmart.com.
That's a great website. Okay, so thanks for joining us. Until next time,
Dr. LeeAnn Vaughan.
Dr. Mark Vaughan telling you to stay in good health.